I say self, believe in you. Okay. No red. Okay. I got you.
How do you know where to put the asymptote?
Yeah, that's very good. How do we know where to put the asymptote? Now we know if we're talking about going towards infinity or negative infinity, we're talking about horizontal, right? So we got to remember back to our horizontal asymptotes and the rules. So it says that if the top degree, right, is bigger than the bottom, okay? So if the top degree, say you have x squared over x, right? Then what does that mean? The top degree, there is no asymptote. Okay? Now, what if the top is smaller than the bottom? How about that? If the top is smaller than the bottom, then that means the horizontal asymptote is at y equals 0. Right? Okay? And then what if they're the same? What if they're the same asymptote? What if they're x over x? Right? Or it's like 3/4 x over x. Then it's the fraction, it's the coefficients in front of it. So the asymptote is at y equals 3/4.
Which one of them equal 1 then?
Well, that would be when they're the same, but you have x over x or x squared over x squared. That would equal, that would be y equal 1 is your asymptote. Does that make sense? So whenever they're the same, and it could also be 4x squared over 4x squared. Or 4x squared minus 3x plus 2 over 4x squared minus 6x minus 7. Right? Those that both have asymptotes horizontal at 1. Right? So, in this case, we're talking about 1 over 2, which means this one. So the horizontal asymptote is at 0. Right? This is almost that easy. I mean, isn't that the answer when you look at the back?
Yeah.
Right? This one's a lot easier because we know as soon as we look at that wherever that asymptote is, wherever that horizontal asymptote is, we know that's the answer. So where does this go as it goes to negative infinity? 0. Right? So let's take a look though. Why? All right? Just because it works out that way, we want to understand why it does, right? So we're looking at this, and I know that there is an asymptote at what? At this says 0, right? So that means this line is an asymptote. So that means it won't cross. Something happens to where this thing goes like this, or this, whatever. But it's approaching that line. Now let's think. As x goes to negative infinity, so that means on this side, right? So we're not talking about this side, we're talking about this side, right? Okay? So let's look at negative 1. Okay? So x is going to be 0. Oh no, as x goes in, oh my bad, I'm sorry. As x goes to negative infinity, we're talking about this side, right? So let's look at x equals negative 1. Okay? So at f of negative 1, what happens when we plug that in? So we get 4 times negative 1 over negative 1 squared plus 4. That's negative 4 over 1 plus 4 is 5, right? So that's negative 4/5. So that's really close to 1. So it's like right around there. Does that make sense? Now we'll look at 2 and see where it's going, right? And my belief is that as we get further this way, it's going to get closer and closer and closer to this point. Does that make sense? So let's go to negative 2. Or we could jump to negative 10, right? Okay? So let's jump to negative 10. Let's see how close it gets. So we're going to go way out here to negative 10. And this is negative 1, right? So we're going to do f of negative 10. Now if I plug that in, I'm going to get 4 times negative 10 divided by negative 10 squared plus 4. So I get 4 times negative 10 is negative 40 over 100 plus 4, so that'd be 104, right? So that's like pretty small, right? That's like a fourth, right? Like 0.4, right? So is it closer to this point? And yes. So this is just coming up closer and closer and closer to what? To your horizontal asymptote, which is what? 0. So how did we know it was 0? Well, we knew it because we remembered our rules from horizontal asymptote. Thank God we put this on the wall. Right? Because how many of us remembered that from last year? We would have had to look it up again, right?
Yeah. Where'd you get the negative 10 from? Like, would you just pick it?
I just picked the number way out.
Really?
Wait.
It's a big number.
Right?
You're confusing me. Give me gay head. Dan, is it cool if I go to Sihano real quick for basketball practice?
Yeah.
So it goes up like that?
Yeah, it's going up. So I don't know what happens on this side, but I know on this side, as we go to negative infinity, it's going up towards 0.
Okay.
But it won't touch 0 because we know it won't because it's the asymptote.
Where'd you place negative 40 over 104? Like, where's the dot at?
Huh?
It's just close to the 0.
Well, what I did is I looked at it as like 4/10.
Okay, yeah.
I just estimated because it's going to be like 0.40062, something like that. Who knows? But it's going to be pretty close to
Those are
0.4.
kind of confusing.
Yeah, these are a little confusing, but so were the others, right? In the beginning. But one thing you just have to remember is the rules of asymptotes.
Yeah.
Once you know the rules of asymptotes, you're going to be fine.